G'day guys and welcome back to your English Aussie. Today I'm going to go through my team selection for game week 33, including what transfers I'm going to make in order to bench boost in this game week. I'm also going to go through a few differentials to make your team stand out from the others and to help you get the maximum rank increase in game week 33. So let's get right into it with my current team. As you can see here, I do have 3 free transfers for game week 33 that I am looking to use. I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 double game weekers with 1 injury to Gabriel at the moment. I am planning to move that to get as many double game weekers as possible into my team, whilst also keeping some key players for the stretch between game week 35 and game week 38. I do have a free hit available and I am planning to use that in game week 34. So let's jump straight into it and think about what my transfers are going to be this week. Of course, I am going to be using that all-important bench boost chip, which I do need to activate. I will be starting Raya in goal. I will have Gvardiol at the back with Munoz, and I will have a replacement for Gabriel, who is likely to be William Saliba. Now, I do want to spend just a little bit of time talking about the defence here. You can see at the moment I've obviously got Raya in goal, Munoz, Gvardiol and Saliba as my 3 doubling defenders. And then my 2 defenders on the bench are Milenkovic and Dan Burn. I would be looking to remove Dan Burn for this week to get in another doubler. And I think the options clearly are either an Aston Villa defender or another Arsenal defender. Now, if we do look at the Aston Villa defenders, they are playing against Newcastle and Man City. I do expect them to concede over this period of time, and I do think that Aston Villa's fixtures are not particularly fantastic from a defensive standpoint for the rest of the season, especially 36 and 37 against Bournemouth and Tottenham. Now, if I were to look at the Arsenal defence, I think that the main option here is probably Kiwior, potentially Timber. But I think Kiwior's looked like he's a staple in the centre-back role for Arsenal at the moment. And if we do look at Arsenal's fixtures for the rest of the season, Ipswich and Palace in the double is really nice from a defensive standpoint, as well as Arsenal being a fantastic defensive side. 35 against Bournemouth is not terrible. 36 and 37 not great before a really nice fixture against Southampton in 38. So for me, given the fact that the Arsenal midfield is probably the most likely to be getting rotated in game week 33, it is now looking likely that Arsenal do progress through the Champions League and get through to the next round. And their games will be on a Wednesday night UK time, followed by a Sunday night game against Crystal Palace, followed by the Champions League on the Wednesday again the following week. So I do think that some of their midfielders definitely will get rested for that Crystal Palace game, which is the second in the double. And therefore, I do think that a double Arsenal, a triple up at the Arsenal defence is a really nice way to A, get a differential, and B, to really maximise your bench boost by having those players play 2 games in the week. So I would be looking to remove a Dan Burn to get in a Kiwior as my final double game week defender. Now, looking at the midfield, we do have 2 doublers in here in Ismail Assar and Savinho, with Palmer, Murphy and Salah, the 3 midfielders that will not be doubling in game week 33. This is really where the issues I feel are for my team and probably a lot of other teams that are on bench boost this week. And the way that I am looking to resolve this is by thinking about who my ideal players are for that double. I do obviously think that there is a lot of rotation in that Arsenal side, and there probably will be across game week 33, especially for the likes of Bukayo Saka and potentially even for Mikel Merino, especially for him playing in that forward role that he has done for Arsenal. He may drop back into central midfield potentially for some of those games as the team is shifted around. So for me, I want to make sure that the minutes played over that period of time is a real lock. And with the news recently that Kevin De Bruyne has started to move on from Manchester City at the end of the season, This is a real key crunch period of games for Man City over the next few weeks. Some really nice fixtures, and they will need their best team to get through and finish in that top 5 and qualify for a Champions League spot. I do think Pep Guardiola is going to pick Kevin De Bruyne for all of these games. He is going to play a lot of minutes. He has also spoken out about how this is the first time he's felt no sort of niggles or injuries and fully fit all season. So I'm expecting him not to get rotated for the rest of the season and to be playing some big minutes. De Bruyne is a fantastic player, such a big player for this Man City side, and it was something that we saw this week against Crystal Palace with the massive impact he had on that team. So for me, he's someone that whatever is required, I would like to get into the team. As you can see at the moment, I do currently have 3 Manchester City players already, and that is going to lead to me having to take a -4 hit this week to be able to bring in Kevin De Bruyne. I will be moving Savinho out of my team, bringing De Bruyne in. He will slide in for Palmer. And my Gameweek 33 captain will be Kevin De Bruyne. I do not have the money, unfortunately, to make that straight switch. And that does mean that I will need to move Palmer out of my side. So that will be the -4 hit that I do take to take Palmer out for Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa. Of course, you could look potentially to a Marcus Rashford. However, I think Rogers has been in great form recently. I also think his minutes are very secure. But I do think at the end of the day, it could be a toss-up between him and Rashford over who you choose to go for, depending on how differential you do want to be. So I think that sort of lines up my midfield quite nicely. De Bruyne, Sarr and Rogers all doubling, with Salah also in that starting lineup and Jacob Murphy first on the bench. Moving into the forward line, we do have Mateta, Marmoush and Isak. Again, all of those players, I think, really nice strikers in good form, with some reasonable fixtures. I do think Newcastle against Aston Villa could get a result, and if they are going to get results, Isak and Murphy are going to be the guys that are going to be scoring the goals. So this finishes me with a Gameweek 33 team of Raya in goal, 4 doubling defenders, 3 doubling midfielders and Mo Salah, Mateta and Marmoush both doubling up front, with Martinez doubling on the bench, along with Isak, Murphy and Milenkovic. A couple of really nice things about the structure of this team. As we go forward towards, I will be free hitting in 34, and then as we go forwards towards game week 35, 36, 37, 38, they still do manage to rotate quite nicely with the rest of the players here. So, for example, if we looked at game week 35, could easily have either Martinez or Raya in goal. I could be looking to play Saliba or a Milenkovic, Munoz, Kiwi or Saliba. And you do always have to fall back on that Arsenal are a very strong defence. I know that they have found ways to concede recently, and that is sort of a reason because, you know, when you do have new defenders in, you have to work as a back four together. It's not always that easy, and one mistake can lead to a goal, and that has been what has been happening for this Arsenal team. But you do need to remember they are still a great defence, and if you do have any injuries to your other players over that period of time, it's always nice to know you can fall back on one of the teams that are the top 3 teams in the league. The rest of the defenders rotate quite nicely. You can see here 35, 36, 37. Palace have some nice fixtures. Man City have some nice fixtures. And also Nottingham Forest have some nice fixtures. As we move on into game week 36, it's obviously important to remember that there are potentially doubles that could come in this game week, followed by also some potential blanks in 37. Of course, the doublers could be any of Aston Villa, Man City, Crystal Palace or Nottingham Forest. So it is quite nice to sort of have a little bit of each of those teams, and we will know after game week 34 the results of the FA Cup and whether potentially any of these teams will be doubling in 36. Of course, we do have here, if I put Martinez back in, we do have here 3 Palace, 3 City, and 2 Aston Villa players. Say we found out that Aston Villa didn't get through and maybe Nottingham Forest did. Potentially we could use to move Martinez to a sells and then have a nice double with Leicester and West Ham in game week 36. Again, we could look to move one of the strikers again who isn't doubling to perhaps a Chris Wood or maybe a Jacob Murphy or Morgan Rogers through to an Anthony Elanga. So these are the sort of options that you still have as you get through towards game week 36. We'll still have a couple of free transfers up our sleeve at this point. And then even as we go through all the way to game week 38, we'll have a nice sort of team set up. Triple Arsenal against Southampton, Newcastle versus Everton. And by this point, I think we would have looked to transfer out some of those Crystal Palace players for potentially maybe a Brentford attacker in Wissa or Mbumo, or even some Nottingham Forest players. So overall, I think this gives you a really nice strategy all the way through to game week 38. If you have liked this video, please remember to give it a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy. It's just a small thing for you guys, but it makes a really big difference to my channel. And hopefully this game week 33 Bench Boost team gives you some ideas of some differential picks that you can look to play whilst also maintaining a good team structure through to the rest of the season. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been your English Aussie. Have a great week, guys, and I will catch you later.